Cool.
Hello, my name is Dean Contover. This is the Current Buzz. The Current Buzz today. Thank you for watching. I have a gentleman. His name is Philip Brown. He's the author of a couple of books. Is that or researcher? How should I say that?
Public historian. I have a few books.
Yeah. These pictorial books, you've probably seen them everywhere.
All over. Yeah.
One is called The Greeks of the Merrimack Valley, and we're going to talk about that. And the other one is The Armenians of the Merrimack Valley. Now, it's a pictorial, as you know. I mean, there's pictures in here, and it's pretty interesting. If you haven't seen them or read them, you can get them at your local bookstore.
Amazon Line, Amazon, Haverhill Public Library, CVS's, Walgreens. I've seen them. They have stands of local books.
Yeah.
I've seen one. I didn't even know. I just walked in and saw it at a CVS. Like, hey, that's cool.
Oh yeah. Did you buy it?
No, I can get them by. I got a bit of discount on the publisher. But.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we're going to talk about the Armenians in the Merrimack Valley. Explain what the Merrimack Valley is, because some people might just think it's in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's the area around the Merrimack River, obviously in southern New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Let's say from like Lowell to the ocean, kind of.
Newburyport, basically.
To Newburyport, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And all the way up to Concord.
That's about, it goes about that far, yeah.
So that's the Merrimack Valley.
Northern Merrimack Valley, southern Merrimack Valley.
Because on the weather, they always say, oh, the Merrimack Valley is going to get some snow, but they don't talk about the upper Merrimack Valley. Right. So what made you think of doing something about micro of the Merrimack Valley? How did that start? Which book was first, the Armenians or the Greeks?
Okay, the Armenians. What it was I was going for my master's in public history from American Public University.
Okay.
We had to do a capstone project. So, I was thinking of a variety.
What's a capstone project?
Capstone is at the end of, let's say, your degree coursework, you have to put together some kind of project. Could be a paper, a thesis, just something, some kind of project. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was Tom Vodabedian from Haverhill, who was a longtime reporter for the Haverhill Gazette and then the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. He was at the high school where I taught history and Haverhill history, and I brought my class to see him. And it was the 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, and I was thinking, geez, this is probably a great time to do a book. Mm-hmm. On the Armenians and local Armenians, and I pitched the idea to him. He liked it, and I pitched the idea to my professor, and he liked it too. So I was familiar with these books because Pat O'Malley from Haverhill, she was a professor at Bradford College. She did 2 books on the Irish of Haverhill and the Italians of Haverhill, and I have relatives, in the Italians of Haverhill.
Oh wow!
And so I had that in my mind. I had these kind of books from Arcadia Publishing in my mind. So, Tom knows just about every Greek in the world, every Armenian in the world. So he is very active. He wrote articles for the Armenian newspaper that's worldwide, and he's been there and everything. So he had a lot of the content from his own contacts and friends and family, and we did my shed did a lot of. Schlepping around to libraries and historical societies and online obituaries and whatever I could, and family, friends. Met a lot of people, Armenians, and I was familiar with the story, but as I did some more digging, it's one thing to hear and see it in the press, but it's another thing when you actually meet the people whose parents or grandparents died. Tom's mother escaped from the genocide from Syria. She walked from Armenia to Syria.
Explain what the genocide is.
Yeah, during World War I.
Because we're talking about genocide now happening in the Ukraine.
So during World War I, it was the Allied powers against the Germans and the Ottomans. And the Ottomans thought that the Armenians were going to be siding with because they controlled that area, the Ottoman Empire. They thought they were siding and gathering weapons to fight on the side of the Allied powers. which they really weren't. So they decided to drive them out, and they probably wanted their land too, because they had a new government. The Turks were taking over from the Ottomans. It was just a lot going on, and they committed atrocities that were horrible, and people literally had to walk from Armenia to Syria to get away from it. And several years later, they're going to do the same thing to the Greeks in Turkey.
Push them out.
Right. So Tom's mother had been through that, of course. But the thing is, she never really talked about it until much later in life, for a variety of reasons. Because that's not the kind of thing you talk to your little kids about.
I think it's like World War II veterans or Korea. Or,
it's over. Let's
Vietnam.
move on kind of mentality. But that's easier said than done. Come to find out, as we do research, a lot of meeting and talking to people about World War II, because my father was in it and so forth. A lot of them did have what we call PTSD or shell shock. They didn't really have much of a word for it then. They didn't. They had very poor treatments for anxiety and so forth. So they just suffered. And I've known some people who know people who used to, in the middle of the night, crawl under their beds, and so forth. So that's to think about that. And as we're speaking, it's April in 2022. Ukraine is being attacked by Russian, and some people want to call it genocide. Some people don't want to call it genocide. But those people are going to have problems for the rest of their lives. The kids, it's just a nightmare. And it's horrible. So we can understand that because we see it going on now. This was going on a long time. It's always gone on,
terrorism.
Sadly. So the people, there's going to be problems. And that's the same thing happened in those communities. People, I met a friend's mother who had no grandparents because they were all got wiped out in the genocide. And that's sad. I can't imagine that. My grandmother raised me. I just can't imagine what that. I never met my other grandparents because they died before I was born. But I mean, she raised me, and and to not have any grandparents because they got killed, to know that, it's just like.
I just want to tell you, Turkey's here. To the west is the Greeks, and to the east are the Armenians, and they don't like each other. And that's the bottom line. And that's why you had the genocide that was recently recognized by President Biden.
Finally, yes.
Finally recognized. The State Department didn't want to recognize it. They were afraid or intimidated by Turkey or what they were planning to do. And they recognized that nothing happened, really, technically, from the Turks. But let's get back to the book. So you wrote this book. This was a project. Is that what you were telling me?
Yeah, so it was for a capstone. It was for a capstone course. And it just went really well. But because Tom knows everybody, we went on book presentations and signings all over.
Oh, yeah,
and,
I'm sure.
They sold like crazy.
I'm definitely.
But as I'm doing the research and talking to people, like, your wife's Greek. I'm a member of AHEPA, too. So that's American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association. Think of it as the Sons of Italy of the Greeks kind of thing. The Pulaski Club of the Polish.
Yeah, it started in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
The HEPA.
Right.
Because they were being driven out by Southerners. The Italians and the Greeks were driven out of the South because they were dark-skinned people.
Right, and not Protestant, but So my in-laws were very active in AHEPA, so I go to the AHEPA meetings, and people, you're doing the Armenians, why don't you do the Greeks? Okay. So
good point.
I did it, and hopefully it was a fundraiser, hopefully for Greek organizations, and although that it didn't turn out as well as I was hoping on the fundraising side and everything. People do appreciate the book, and it's hard to explain to people. Hey, I'm doing a book about the Greeks in the Merrimack Valley. Can I, you have a picture you want, or a photo or something? And people were pretty good about photos, but then when you ask, about the photo, it's that's my grandfather Vasilios, and he worked in a shoe factory somewhere in, I think, Haverhill or Lowell or something like that. And then, okay, can you give me more? And sometimes it was like pulling teeth, so I had to go into online records, obituaries and everything to kind of help them out.
It seems a lot of people don't know their genealogy, don't look up their, they don't look up their obituaries of the family. They don't know, and it gets lost with time.
That's a whole nother show. Yeah, I could complain about that for the next hour or so.
Well, you say people don't know their genealogy when you talk to them. Is that what you see?
Yeah, and I can understand that. I don't think my kids could name one of their great grandparents. I'm not. Or any of my uncles. I don't think my kids could name any of my uncles or aunts. Maybe a couple.
Maybe we should have a show like Roots on Channel 2, and do a research on somebody's family and have it on local cable.
Yeah, I didn't do my own until my son went to Ireland, 2016, and I wanted to finally some Irish genealogy records came out because there was a big fire somewhere, and they thought they'd lost them all, but they found a lot. I was able to do that. However, the timing was bad. I didn't get around to it until too late. But now I know where my ancestors from Ireland came from. We always know where my Italian, my mother was Italian, where my Italian ancestors came from. Because they left when they were 3. Matter of fact, they came here, had a miserable experience. They lived in Providence. It didn't work out. They were called names and everything. And
the
streets weren't paved with gold.
No, that's
as
true.
They thought.
That's right.
They went back, and then they had my grandmother's siblings here, but they went back and they had my grandmother, and she came here when she was 3. Which I'm finding this out.
Yeah.
I didn't find this out until my 50s or so.
Yeah.
That was. These are very common stories. A lot of people came here, but a lot of them people went back or never intended to stay. I've taken some courses on immigration, and it's fascinating. Some areas where they came from, people did stay put. The Irish stayed put. A lot of the Scandinavian, German, and so forth, they were kind of wealthier than Northerners. Northern European, they started farms in the Midwest, and so a lot of Southern Italians went back. And
yeah, it's funny how people went back and forth. I'm looking at records in regards to my granduncle. He went back and forth like 2 or 3 times.
You see it here with, as an example, Dominicans. Okay,
yeah.
They come here, they make some money, they go back and they build a house or get a business, and that's normal.
And it's easy because they could take a flight from Boston right to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
that's easy. It's not like years ago where you had to take a boat, and that costs money. And you don't know where you're going to be on the boat, whether you're going to below deck.
I can't imagine.
What I want to get to is that the Armenians basically were the first group of people who, in 301 AD, who accepted Christianity.
Yeah, their first official.
I have to get that out there.
Yeah, that's one of their claims to fame. Their king was one of the first to convert. Which prophet, which apostle, I can't remember. But that to me is is amazing in a way, that these people who were persecuted but still, that's the amazing story I think of Christianity and maybe other religions, but that as persecuted as they were, they still went out and got countries to convert. Like, these were nobodies. These were. Yeah, they were inspired by Paul, who was a tax collector, but it's still a fascinating story.
It's not talked about with Ukraine and Russia, the difference between the Russian church in Moscow and the Ukrainian church. It's not talked in the American press, and that's a big deal in regards to what happened in 2018, I'm sorry, where Ukraine wanted to split from Moscow and go to Constantinople. But no one talks about that in the American press because they don't understand it.
I didn't hear about that myself.
Yeah.
I figured something like that I would pick up. But it's such a mess because the Soviet Union, religion was barely tolerated, if at all.
Yeah.
Technically communism
is very religious.
Is atheist and so forth. So it's an awkward situation for the Russian church right now because they're damned if they support their war effort. They're damned if they don't. So they're kind of caught in the middle. But obviously the Ukrainian church is, dealing with this. You see priests on the news, having to bury the Russians drag people to them to bury them. It's just a nightmare.
I want to ask you this question: how long did it take you to your first book, The Armenians of the Merrimack Valley. How long did it take you to write this up? Get it
About
to press?
6 months, because
That's
I had a deadline for my course.
Oh,
so,
okay. That's fast.
So about 6 months or so. That is fast. But Tom gave me a head start because he already had a lot of material from his career as a reporter and knowing a million, Armenian people.
Contacts. Yeah.
But I still did my
There's
share.
a big Armenian community in Waltham. Is it Waltham or
Watertown.
Watertown.
And Whitensville, which there's just a cluster of Armenians in Whitensville.
Do you know there's a big Armenian group in Argentina? Did you know that?
I'm not surprised either because a lot of Italians wound up there, and I'm not surprised. There was a diaspora. It was the Armenian and the Greek diaspora too.
Yeah. I'll tell you about it after the show. The Greeks in the Merrimack Valley. It's another book. How long did this take you?
That I took a good close to a year.
Close to a year.
Yeah. Because I had to start from scratch, and went to all the libraries in the Merrimack Valley, up through Concord, and historical societies, interviewing my wife's relatives.
Did you?
I think my wedding pictures are there.
Yeah, I did see that. His wedding pictures in there. Just pick it up to see his wedding picture. It's beautiful. What was I about to say? Oh, Market Basket. Did you speak to Demoulas and Market Basket? Or
Something I didn't get too far there. I didn't pursue it too much.
So I
did make some calls, but they're handled by Hudson News or something like that. So they outsource all their printed materials, their periodicals and whatever to some company. I just never got far with them.
I'm just saying, did you interview him, the head of?
No, but I did get some information. I found their pictures, maybe just from online resources. I think I found that information.
Right. Are you going to do a second volume on this?
I would rather help people do it. I someday, if I find somebody who's ambitious enough to go to the parishes and the businesses and everything, because now, when I was doing this, people didn't know what I was talking about. But now when they see it, it goes, well, I could have helped you with that, So now that there is one, and I might not necessarily use this publisher, because people, if people want to do it as a fundraiser, you can make more money printing it yourselves, and that's easy. I do some self-publishing myself on some other works I've done on behavioral history. If you want to talk to people, I would gladly help them. There are other ways to do it. And I would love to help people. I think it would be a great fundraiser.
Well, there's a lot. I know there in Chelmsford, I think there's 1 or 2 volumes. In Lowell, there's 2 volumes at least in Lowell. So that's why I was asking if you were going to come out with
matter of fact, my wife's, one of her relatives did a book on the Greeks of Lowell, the American Acropolis, or was that somebody else? That was
I know who
Chris.
it was.
Now I can't think of his name.
I
you know what I'm talking about?
It's a larger book, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a larger.
As a matter of fact, I borrowed a lot of that information.
Oh, is that right?
There too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a relative, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. So the Holy Trinity Church was established in Lowell in 1908. It's on the list of National Registries of Historic Places that was placed in 1977. I was looking that up. I looked up also that you got married in the Greek church on October 28th, 1990.
Yes.
And so you had pictures of the Olympia and the Athenian Corner, the restaurant.
How can you not put those in there?
It's really interesting because of the longer-lasting restaurants in Lowell, the Athenian Corner and the Olympia are still in existence.
Oh, yeah, sure. Now that you remind me, another place we can get the book is Sophie's. Is it?
Sophie's right next to the Olympia.
She fills, every once in a while she calls me to get more books. And also Tina's in Newburyport.
I think I've been there.
Yeah.
It's on the main
She's
drag.
still open. Yeah, she's been around a long time.
Okay, yeah, it's on the main.
She's still. My wife just went there last week.
It's on the main drag when you're going down the
State
hill. It's
Street,
on the left hand in the middle of the block.
Yes, as we tape, it's Holy Week, and
okay.
you know, my wife made the Gudalakia yesterday, and you know, we'll be making the grape leaves, and we'll be
I did
coloring the eggs, and
see, you're indoctrinated. Greek American Legion is no more. It was in Lowell, but they sold the building.
yeah, but they have the Hellenic School still.
Yeah, they have the
Lowell,
Hellenic School in Lowell.
That's going strong, I think.
And I think they just got a new principal there. What do you know about veterans in the Armenian and the American community?
Haven't come across any organization. I'm sure they're out there, and I've seen some books, Armenians in World War II or something. I have a book. I think I think his name was Tajin. I remember that because I have a friend, Tajin, from Haverhill. So there was a book done. I found some Armenian books that were helpful, kind of gave me some direction. Yeah, plus the museum in Watertown. You know, we did a signing there.
Oh, they have a museum in Watertown. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah.
My Armenian American relative never told me there was a museum.
Yeah, it's
And
nice one too. Yeah.
what is it on? Is it on the
one of the main
the genocide?
No, it's just in general culture and heritage and history. Oh, it's really nice. I think every ethnic group should have one of those.
I was at the dedication of the new stone that's in front of Lowell City Hall. I don't remember what year it was. They have a stone there, and you put it in your book. And it was June 2014. No,
the one with holding hands is the hand.
No, this is the one.
Yes, the cross. Yes,
the cross,
okay, yeah.
The cross. If you want to go see it, go to downtown Lowell. It's right in front of the City Hall. When you walk up the steps, it's on the right-hand side. So, any other adventures? I'm running short of time. Any other adventures? I know when you
on ethnicity, no, but I am working with Frank Novak from Haverhill, who's a realtor and he's the local political guy on local cable TV. We're working on the socialists of Sioux City. Haverhill had the first socialist mayor and city councilors at the turn of the century, the Gilded Age. And it's something I came across when I was preparing, to teach my students history of Haverhill. I'm like, what is this all about? And doing more research, I became fascinated by it. And I got to interview, Mike Dukakis, whose family's from Greece. His mother was born in Haverhill. I think his mother was Lesvos, but from Lesvos, I think.
I think you're right.
And Stuart Weitzman, the famous fashion shoe designer, we interviewed him. The mayor, Pat O'Malley. The documentation is unbelievable. So we decided to put it together. It's not political. It's not political or ideological, because I'm very progressive, and my co-producer is not. He's more of a
that's all right.
A Republican conservative type person, but that makes it even better because we kept it historical and educational,
right?
Which is the best way to do it.
So there was a socialist mayor in Haverhill.
John C. Chase, yeah.
John C. Chase, okay.
And
let me say this: through history, there have been mayors in Milwaukee. I think.
Oh yeah. Brockton.
That were socialists. There were senators that were even socialists in the early 1900s.
Right.
Was it? Yeah.
This is before the Russian Revolution.
Right.
Then after that, when this became a real thing to people, now it's bad. Now it's when they actually but Haverhill was like Sinos. They were socialists in name only. They were really kind of what we would call liberal, kind of
progressive,
yeah. And that's what people were in the mood for, because there were lots of, abuses in the factories and strikes and everything. But I can't believe the time is. I might have to come back sometime.
Yeah, I have Philip Brown. These are his books, the Greeks of Merrimack Valley and the Armenians of Merrimack Valley. It's pretty narrow, but pretty informational. You did do a good job in regards to the research. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I thought.